1 week passes after Deculein attends the Magic Tower social event, and he turns that time into disciplined survival work. Daily memorization and basic telekinesis are not enough anymore, so he forces his body through a morning routine as well. His stamina is still poor, and every exercise reminds him that Deculein may have powerful talent but not a body built for strain. The reason is simple. A few days earlier, he nearly killed himself trying to strengthen his magic too quickly. He pushed an experimental method until his room shattered around him and his own blood proved how reckless the shortcut was.
If I were a normal mage, I would have died. Did I withstand it because of the Iron Man attribute?
He wanted greater strength before meeting Ganesha, so he engraved fire control into his existing telekinesis and reinforced metal manipulation. The purpose was to implant the core of fire control inside telekinesis, cutting down the time he would normally need to learn new magic. But the trade-off is brutal, because a faster path through magic also becomes far more dangerous to the body carrying it. After feeling that violent strain firsthand, Deculein reaches the obvious conclusion: magical talent will not save him if his body collapses first. So he builds physical training into his mornings, turning survival into a routine instead of a last-second reaction. Even a simple workout leaves him sweating, but the relief matters because this weakness is something he can actually work on.
It is already time to go to work.
At the head professor office, Deculein returns from training to the responsibilities attached to his title.
What is this, Alan?
A statement has arrived from the Magic Tower, and its seal makes the problem impossible to ignore. The sender is the Magic Tower qualification of Professor Committee, which means this is not ordinary office paperwork. Deculein studies the notice in silence because the threat touches the very title keeping him anchored in this world. The committee informs him that an audit hearing is scheduled in 6 months and demands documents about the research he is supposedly doing.
If an audit hearing is being held, it likely means Deculein has been at a standstill long enough to embarrass his body. This is an unfavorable situation for me.
Inside the game, Deculein was always a professor, not simply a noble with money and arrogance. His status, mana, and talent are tied to that identity, so losing the chair may damage more than his reputation.
The moment I lose this title, it may be equivalent to losing every hope of returning.
For a man trapped in a villain body, that possibility is worse than professional humiliation. It threatens the only path back to his original life. He moves immediately because the committee wants research, and the only place to find Deculein's research is Deculein's own laboratory.
As such, I will have to find something, anything in Deculein's laboratory.
The laboratory door waits like a locked answer to whether the old Deculein left him a way through the audit. Inside, the room is a wreck of abandoned books, broken tools, and research scraps scattered like someone left in the middle of a disaster. It looks as if nobody has used the place in a long time, and if Deculein came and went, he would never have tolerated this much mess.
That heap of trash in particular looks unnatural.
A single pile stands out from the disorder, not because it is messy, but because it seems arranged to hide something. Deculein cannot know who made the pile, but he understands the intent. Someone wanted to stop Deculein from finding what was underneath.
What a relief that I managed to learn telekinetic manipulation.
With telekinesis, he lifts the wreckage away without touching it and reveals the notebook buried beneath the debris. The notebook shows that Deculein encrypted every research result so it could not be stolen easily. At first, even comprehension rejects the material as useless, as if the writing is too damaged or incomplete to read cleanly. Then his eyes catch something inside the pages, a flash of meaning sharp enough to stop him cold. A golden light erupts from the research, and Deculein realizes the ruined notebook is not worthless after all. Through the combined power of wealthy magnet and sharp eyesight, he can see how incredible the research really is.
Is this brilliant? However, this research is incomplete, it is torn, and there are empty spots.
Even the logic in the completed sections does not fully connect, but the value underneath is strong enough to make his financier instinct react. That reaction matters, because wealthy magnet only stirs when Deculein is looking at something with real profit or survival value. The source points back to one painful name, Ephraim Luna, the child whose father once worked as Deculein's researcher. Deculein finally sees that while Ephorine's father was working under him, someone tried to bury what that research meant. The old Deculein made a desperate attempt to hide the truth, and that explains why the Luna family's grudge did not come from nowhere. Ephorine has lived under the consequences of that history, carrying a brutal life shaped by what she believes Deculein did. Deculein cannot undo that pain in a single gesture, but he sees one route that might change the direction of her hatred.
Do not worry, I will complete this research using comprehension. I will add your name on this paper.
He will credit Ephorine as a co-author, partly because she deserves a connection to her father's work, and partly because Deculein needs a real accomplishment too. Meanwhile, at the university cafe, Ephorine is pulled into a very different survival problem among the commoner students. There are only 30 commoners in the class, and the others argue that if they do not work together, they will be punished by the noble heavy system one by one. They expect Ephorine to agree, but she already looks trapped by the direction the conversation is taking. She tries to laugh it off as fulfilling a noble duty, then remembers that she does not even have that kind of noble standing anymore. The others insist she has to be there because Ephorine has become their most visible commoner after surviving the Sylvia incident. They call her the representative of the commoners and remind her that Sylvia made her a symbol whether she wanted that role or not. Ephorine admits the practical problem: professors are not likely to gather for a student club just because commoners ask nicely. The students start naming possible sponsors, but every option brings another hurdle, another noble connection, or another reason to hesitate. Professor Carmel is dismissed as too attached to a high-status noble, Professor Rillin is treated as hostile to commoners, and Professor Deculein feels impossible. Even the quieter students assume Deculein would never help them, which is exactly what Ephorine wants to believe.
Are they not going to eat that? I really hope they do not ask Professor Deculein.
Then the group does the one thing she fears most. They decide to try asking Professor Deculein. Ephorine panics so hard that the idea feels less like a plan and more like a sentence. Her classmates argue that Deculein is fair precisely because he looks down on everyone, nobles and commoners alike. They also point out that Ephorine managed to avoid punishment after catching his eye, which makes him sound useful no matter how terrifying he is.
Why is the mood shifting in such a weird way? I do not want to get involved with Deculein. Anyway, I cannot do it.
She bolts from the cafe, still insisting that asking him will only create the opposite effect. A classmate grabs at her to stop the escape, but Ephorine is already moving on panic instead of logic. The commotion pulls attention outside, and Ephorine looks up just as the person she wanted to avoid comes into her path.
Move.
Instead of open space, she finds Deculein standing directly in front of her.
Deculein?
Her escape stops at the worst possible person, leaving the commoner club problem and Deculein's new plan about her father's research about to collide. Ephorine spots Deculein in the courtyard and throws herself in his path before he can pass her by. Julie is close enough to see the disaster forming, but Ephorine is the one who has to face him. Deculein starts walking away with the same cold indifference that has made most students afraid to approach him. Ephorine catches him again, forcing the words out before her courage disappears.
I want to make a club, and I need your signature for it.
She shoves the application at him like a challenge, already angry enough to pretend his answer does not matter.
He will not annoy you at all. I was just worried since you do not seem to approve of clubs with commoners.
Deculein wants no more trouble around Ephorine, but even he has to admit her request makes sense. Ephorine knows this is probably the only way. The other professors are unlikely to cooperate with a commoner tied to Deculein's scandals.
Let us just try.
Send me the details later to my office. Take it.
The signature is already there, and Ephorine can barely process that Professor Deculein actually agreed. The students stare after him as if they have just watched the impossible happen in broad daylight. Even while another student celebrates the signature, Ephorine cannot enjoy it. Deculein being helpful only makes her more suspicious.
Why is he being nice to me?
Later, Deculein begins a new lecture on the understanding of pure elements, and the room settles into cautious attention.
Elements are the building blocks of all magic, yet many mages still fail to understand the difference between categorical magic and pure elements.
For Ephorine, every word from him lands against the question she cannot shake, guilt, or something even more irritating.
Or sympathy, perhaps? He drove my father to death. Even if he is nice to me now, it only feels fake. If he truly feels that he did wrong, then he should reveal his true self to the world and repent.
The thought hits so hard that Ephorine clenches her fists, dragging the old wound into the middle of the classroom.
Are you all right, Ephorine? Oh, what? You do not seem to be doing well. Do not concern yourself over those guys. They do not know how to do anything other than running their mouths.
What the hell is she talking about?
Across the hall, the gossip is already ugly. Some students insult Ephorine openly and wonder why she keeps looking their way. Ephorine realizes she may have made an enemy of the noble girl after the disciplinary incident, even without understanding how. Julie brushes it aside and pulls Ephorine back toward the lecture because the gossip is not worth losing the lesson. Deculein explains that every stroke in a magic circle carries its own reasoning, not just a decorative shape. Then he chooses an ignition spell as the example, saying its color can change when 2 precise strokes are added to the circle.
This is what we are going to learn today.
The demonstration becomes flowing fire, a spell that sounds contradictory before Deculein even finishes writing it. For once, Deculein's lecture is not a way to boast about his position. The magic blooming in his hands is beautiful, like a reenactment of living mana. The debutantes stare because he is giving them a creative explanation that only an elite mage could normally make intuitive. Even Sylvia, who had lost the joy of learning under the weight of her talent, is caught by the lecture. Deculein summons water with 1 circle, then uses the principle as calmly as if he is placing a proof on the board.
However, if you combine this with the fire magic circle, it becomes this.
The circles overlap, and the 2 opposite elements stop behaving like separate ideas. The flame bends and moves as if it has become water, shocking the students who thought they understood the basics. A river of fire runs through the air, and the simple lecture suddenly feels like a glimpse of what magic is supposed to become. The fire keeps flowing like water, not as a trick, but as the proof of Deculein's explanation.
No way. I did not know.
His lessons used to be so theoretical that students endured them. Now the theory is alive in front of them. Most mages who call themselves geniuses rely on intuition to cast spells, so theory has always felt like a mold to them. If every mage prioritized theory alone, all magic would start to look the same, trapped in the same rigid shape. At the same time, the opposite extreme makes sense too. Focus only on theory, and there is not enough time left to actually learn magic. Trying to understand everything through theory becomes inefficient, and training itself begins to suffer.
In order to become an elite, you have to have good intuition.
But elites cannot explain intuition. That contradiction is the paradox of magic, and Ephorine understands why this lesson is painful for a genius being questioned in public. For someone whose genius is under scrutiny, teaching such a theory-focused lesson is practically impossible, yet Deculein just did it. After class, Ephorine leaves the magic tower thinking the rumors about his lectures were completely wrong.
I have never cursed so hard on a lecture before.
Her irritation cools into a small, reluctant pause because the lecture bothered her precisely because it made sense. At the dorm, that fragile mood dies. Her door has been covered in insulting messages about her and Sylvia. Ephorine assumes the harassment got worse because of her recent binge studying with Sylvia. Then she notices something stranger than the vandalism, a sponsorship certificate waiting at her door. The document says the Iliad Foundation sponsored her, and that makes no sense when its head is Deculein.
There is no way this is real. This is good, actually. I can report this for being false and get a reward.
She storms into the magical administration office, certain she has found the cleanest way to turn Deculein's fake kindness against him. The answer is worse than any rejection. The seal is real. A staff member confirms the sponsorship, and Ephorine breaks down because Deculein's support is not a forged prank at all. In her imagination, the certificate turns into a ridiculous miracle, the kind of blessing she never expected to receive. The fantasy pops immediately when she realizes this money could expose her to a different kind of trouble.
What if people realize that I have 100,000 elne?
She regrets entering the office at all, because the reward she wanted has turned into a fortune she has no idea how to carry safely. Ephraim tries to slip away and tells herself nobody saw her, but even that hope feels thin.
Nobody saw me, right?
Panic gets the better of her, and one careless step turns the escape into a crash. When she comes to, she is sprawled on the dorm floor, hurting and unsure whether the whole day has finally stopped being real.
That I have not woken up. Someone noticed my talents.
For the first time in a while, Ephraim lets herself believe the world might still be kind, and she pulls herself together to try a little harder. Outside the dorm window, that small resolve is all that remains, not trust in Deculein yet, but proof that one impossible kindness can still move her forward. At Deculein Manor, Uriel hears that Deculein has left for the Shatson jewel auction, and the news immediately sounds expensive. The steward confirms that Deculein should have reached the auction by now, which only makes Uriel's suspicion worse. Last year, he blew 10 million elna at the same auction, so Uriel imagines another disaster under the Deculein name. As the auction opens in the city of Utoy, Uriel's warning hangs over him. If Deculein causes more trouble, she will not forgive it.
At last, I may be able to buy the thing I have been searching for.
His reason is not vanity. After using telekinesis as his main magic, he learned that talent alone will not cover the weakness in his materials. The wood steel he already owns can serve as a temporary patch, but it is not strong enough to become the core of his survival plan.
The item I truly need should be available today.
Then he sees Julie in the waiting room, and the auction stops being a simple purchase.
I did not expect her to be here.
Julie crosses the room with knightly formality, and neither of them treats the meeting like a reunion.
I hope you've been well. I heard you sent 2 young mages to the disciplinary committee this time.
Deculein dismisses it as old news, but Julie's real question is whether he will push the blame onto her again.
They are newly appointed debutantes. Do you intend to crush the dreams of rookies with despair?
Your sins will come back to haunt you one day. Do not make the same mistakes you did in the past.
The warning lands differently from an ordinary argument. Deculein understands that Julie is offering a last piece of advice, not a complaint. To him, those words mean Julie intends to cut off whatever relationship she once had with Deculein.
Good. I feel the same way.
No matter how beautiful Julie is, Deculein has no desire to make romance, pride, or a fragile engagement into another way to die. Around Julie, he can imagine too many death variables, and Julie herself is one of them.
If I make one mistake, I could even die on the day of our marriage.
But another detail bothers him. Julie is not the sort of person who attends an auction for entertainment, so she must be here for something specific.
Sir, did you come all the way to the auction just to tell me that? You are so full of yourself. I only came because I needed something.
Deculein tells her to calm down, but her reaction proves she is hiding her own purpose here. For the first time, he sees Julie look genuinely embarrassed, and the small human reaction catches him off guard.
What is this emotion? If I let this thinking show, it will be dangerous. Have I been infected by Deculein's emotions?
He has been guarding himself against Deculein's corrupted personality, and the auction announcement gives him a reason to bury the thought. The auction begins, and Deculein insists that his heart is not racing because of Julie.
I am just overthinking things.
The first item is an Eastern vase, valuable enough for the auctioneer to dress it in mystery before the crowd. When the vase glows, Deculein recognizes the light from the papers tied to Ephraim's father.
Ephraim's papers. This must be wealthy magnet. The light is getting stronger.
The bids climb through the hall, but Deculein keeps watching the glow instead of the crowd. Then guest 777 takes the vase for 2.5 million elna, and Deculein's number enters the auction.
The vase never lost its light even after the price climbed. That means its real value is higher than that.
With more than 200 million elni in the bank, he decides the marked items are not waste but investments. So Ruhalin's ring goes to guest 777 for 12 million. Lucy's scissors, an ancient rune necklace, and a blue scepter follow, each one bought because wealthy magnate keeps pointing at hidden value. Soon the audience is whispering that number 777 has been buying everything, and someone finally names him as Professor Deculein.
What a pathetic man. Is he so starved for attention that he acts like this even here?
Yet even Julie can feel that he is different from the Deculein she remembers, and that makes his spending harder to dismiss. Deculein, meanwhile, ignores the items that do not interest him and waits for the real reason he came.
I only need to obtain winter's fire.
At last, the auctioneer announces the final item. It is nearly impossible to find, and the Empire's history treats it like a rare trace of nature's magic. The auctioneer calls it Winter's Fire. The object beneath that name is the snow flare stone. Both Deculein and Julie react at once because the same stone answers both of their needs. The snow flare stone is one of the 10 rarest metals in the world. It is normally used to forge swords and weapons because the metal contains both heat and cold energy.
The snow flare stone is the best ingredient I can get. I will make sure I get my hands on it.
The price leaps from 10 million to 13, then 20, then 25, until bidder 1089 drives it to 30 million elne.
Nice. I got it.
Then guest 777 cuts in at 31 million, and Julie's relief shatters.
That number has been called so many times today. I cannot ignore what he is doing. Why are you doing this?
When she realizes guest 777 is Deculein, the bid stops feeling like business and starts feeling personal. Julie answers through bidder 1089 and pushes the stone to 32 million. Deculein raises again to 33 million, and the audience misunderstands the battle completely. To them, he must be buying a sword-making stone as a grand gift for his fiancée, proof that he loves Julie deeply.
Wait, have I been competing with Julie? If I take the snow flare stone from her, she might seriously hold a grudge against me. But I need it too.
Julie has her own reason to refuse. The stone has not appeared for 3 years, and no one knows when it will be available again. Deculein knows this could put him at risk, especially when Julie is already one of the roots he cannot afford to provoke.
But for my cherished item, I must obtain the snow flare stone.
Across the auction floor, Deculein and Julie face the same blue stone from opposite sides, neither one willing to back down. At the auction house, the final call lands at 42 million elne, and the snow flare stone is about to leave with guest 777. The number points straight back to Deculein, whose bidding has already turned him into the center of the room. The spectators call it the most competitive auction they have ever seen, because Deculein has not been buying quietly. They even gossip that Afridun was outbid, and that Deculein must be working hard to give his fiancée a gift. Julie lowers her head, because he has already taken what she wanted too.
Once again, we are repeating last year.
Julie never wanted a display like that in the first place.
I can give this all to you if you want, even more if you would like. I can do anything for you.
On the day of their engagement, the old Deculein treated riches like proof of his greatness and expected Julie to be moved by it. But in front of all that wealth, Julie felt only humiliation.
You already know. What is it that I really want from you?
She left that room, and with that one refusal, the engagement was ruined before it could become anything sincere. The rejection should have ended as a private wound. Instead, Deculein's pride made sure it was not the end. Rumors twisted the story until Julie was said to have been dignified while Deculein supposedly begged her and offered a certain knight position in exchange. Other whispers claimed the opposite, that Julie had been the one begging. To Julie, the person who spread the rumors that dirtied her image was obvious. She knew Deculein was someone she could not love, no matter how much he tried to force himself back into her life. That made the snow flare stone feel less like a gift and more like the same old insult repeating in public. Even this time, she expects him to be forcing his will onto her again.
Even this time he is...
Then Deculein appears in front of her, and the buried resentment has nowhere left to hide.
Did you also want the snow flare stone?
How long do you intend on insulting me?
I am sorry.
The apology stops Julie harder than another insult would have.
Now then, if you will excuse me, focus well.
Julie can only stand there, unable to fit this quiet apology into the Deculein she remembers.
What is he sorry for winning the snowflare stone? But did he know I wanted it? Apologize for what?
A voice calls Julie's name from outside before she can decide what to do. Before Julie can chase the answer, Josephine, the eldest daughter of the Freyden household, arrives and orders her into the car. That night, the auction pressure follows Deculein back to Deculein Manor. His car stops at the gate, and the missing death warning feels almost as unsettling as the warnings that usually appear.
Julie probably got angry and brought it instead. It is unexpected that the death variable did not appear. How terrible was Deculein for her to want to murder him?
Did something happen?
The answer is simple and dangerous in its own way. Miss Uriel is home. Deculein finds his half-sister waiting inside, already carrying the kind of anger that belongs to family money and old resentment.
That was supposed to pay for the mines. Is this what you took it for?
No wonder her personal account had so much money. I did not pay enough attention.
Uriel's temper finally detonates.
You are treating me like a garbage can. Do you think I am meant to clean up after the messes you make?
The money had already been pointed toward loans and the family's operations, but Deculein spent it at auction as if it were only his.
You just went ahead and spent all of that money. What trick are you planning now? To gamble with the money that belongs to the estate?
The pressure around her sharpens until even Deculein has to read the moment as danger. Villain's fate activates again, and the root tells him that Uriel's hatred is now a real survival variable. But gold still cuts through the red aura, because wealthy magnate is already showing him the profitable answer.
The meaning of that is simple. If I do not get through this situation, I will die, but if I do, I will bring in a lot of money.
I know the answer to this problem. Do not worry, Uriel.
Uriel does not let the calm tone pass. She demands to know how much he spent, how he plans to make up the money, and whether he is taking her seriously at all.
You did not need to. What are you talking about?
You have done nothing but waste our money since our parents passed away. I will give you the household head position.
The offer hits Uriel so suddenly that her anger stalls.
I said I will give you the household head position, Uriel.
For one impossible second, the woman who came to punish him reacts like a child who just heard exactly what she wanted. Her fury cracks into open excitement before pride can pull it back into place.
Cut the lies. Do not lie to me.
I can swear if you do not trust me.
Swear you have not gone insane like the women who only talk to you because they like your face. Are you serious? Did you hit your head somewhere? I am going to kill you if you go back on your word.
Uriel storms out while the servants whisper that someone must have made her angry because she almost burned the whole mansion to the ground. The door slams behind her, and the mansion survives by a narrower margin than Deculein would like. The root even labels the moment through Villain's fate. Obsidian, a main variable, has shifted to rare urgency.
At least nothing bad happened. There is no problem in handing down the position to her. If I keep changing things one by one like this, I will be able to escape.
Then a familiar voice cuts into that fragile hope.
Ganesha?
Ganesha calls herself an unwanted guest, says she only dropped by, and admits she just saw something shocking. She agrees Uriel may be better suited to lead the household, but the thought still bothers her. Then Ganesha names the problem directly, Uriel von Grahan Deculein. According to Ganesha, Uriel does not have a single drop of Deculein blood at all. Deculein's calm breaks, because this is not a minor household detail.
What is she talking about? I do not remember this being in the game.